What's up, y'all? Benjamin back in here. Let's do another quick video. Um, there's a lot of things I'd love to talk about, but some things I just haven't put the time in to word them just yet. But I do want to talk about getting used to being single. The future is single. Most people are well on their way, right? This isn't a doom and gloom little message. I'm saying there's life after divorce and good things happen, man. And you can get up to some really good things as a single person. Um, Especially I can't speak for women, but as a single guy, there's lots of life after divorce and good things to be had. I mean, it's very doable. Um, when I talk about in these videos, I'm never talking anything bad about women. I was told that I am a narcissistic misogynist that shouldn't be raising my son. And I'm trying to tell people, it's like, look, just because I'm father's rights and I'm pro men recovering after a divorce doesn't mean I'm the opposite. It doesn't mean I'm anti-female. It just means that I'm pro these things. I'm pro men getting over a divorce. I'm pro men's healing and health, and I'm pro fatherhood. Um, and look, most children are raised by single moms now. Most. And that being said, most men are raised by women. And they're also taught to think like women. And boy, we are reaping the rewards of that right now. Boy, you really reap what you sow in that regard. Most young men have been raised by women. They think like women, and we're seeing that now. And so again, when I'm saying these things, I'm not bashing on women. I'm just talking facts. I think the big thing now, red pill community, the red pill language, the red pill thought process. In 5 years' time tops, it's gonna be household language, man, and that's kind of scary actually. But look, roughly 53% of divorces end in marriage. 80% of those divorces are filed by the wife. If she's educated, educated, has a degree, meaning she has ability to move around in her work and obtain good pay, it's 90%, right? Morgan Stanley, the banks, Morgan Stanley, have been doing these polls to try to figure out, okay, what do we do? What do we invest in? These are smart money people, right? Banks, economists, and things. What do we do to invest in the future? And if you're red pill, male or female, you're learning some of these things. But bankers and economists want to know, what are we going to invest in the future? How can we get ahead of things and get on, ride the waves to make more finances? By 2030, most women of marrying age between the age of 25 and 45 will be single. It's over half by 2030. I mean, that's right around the corner. And so they're calling it the rise of the she economy, because more women are making more money now. That wage gap thing. I mean, if you really looked into it, it's really not a thing. But all that to say is that men are opting out of marriage, they're opting out of fatherhood, and they're just working jobs that they want, because they don't have to make a ton of money. Because when you marry a woman, you want to, not even have to, but you want to provide the best you can for her. Plus, if you want to have children with this love of your life, you need to make money. And so men were having to just have these jobs that are just crushing it, and spending all their time away from home because they're always working because they wanted a family, right? Well, now, if most women will be single of marrying age and childbearing age, by proxy, men are single too. Well, if they're not marrying and having children, they don't have to make the money like they used to. So men are just not doing it. And so, but women, strong and independent of what? Independent of a man. And that's their right. They can do that. This is America. If you're in the West, you're a free citizen in theory, and that's something you can do. Good for you. the she economy is tilting now, right? And so these are things that investors want to know. And so with the rise of the she economy, what do women want and need, especially when they don't have a man, right? Or want a man for that matter. Most women don't want a husband. They don't want to be married. So they're talking, and I don't know if this is actually true or not, but kind of the joke is investing in things like boxed wine and cat products, pet products, things like that, because this is what the she economy is going to do. If you have most women without a husband, what are they going to need? What are they going to want? And those are things that we need to invest in and peddle in and commercialize, advertise and things like that. So with that, if people want to remarry, good for them. I think marriage is great. And most red pillars are all kind of on the same boat. Not all of them, but a lot of them are like, great, remarry or get married. If you're married, stay married. Raise your kids. Raise good families. Good, healthy families is what's going to get our country back on track. Because if we just keep cruising in this path we're going, we all know it, right? So good, healthy families win the day. But if you are single and you're a single father, I've been more and more impressed at these men's health communities. Because at first glance, especially when you first start, like myself, take myself an example. When I first started hearing about like the red pill community and the manosphere and things like this, and I have to say to my single brothers that aren't remarrying, I get it. And I understand why some of these guys are very bitter. They're very angry. They're angry at the opposite sex. They are what they call the red pill rage, where when the understanding hits them about the gynocentric social order that they've been living in and the mindset that they've been raised and taught from the time they were born. You've been taught to think like a female. You've been taught to comfort all women, believe all women. That sounds really bad, I know. But hey, hear me out. Once you start waking up to that and you start hearing this stuff, you have your red pill rage time frame. And once you get through that, though, it's actually been incredibly helpful as a single person because you're looking for answers as a man. Like, what do I do now? My marriage didn't work, and I don't, and I only see my kids sometimes. And it turns out that's a lot of men. It's not a small community anymore. All these men are all, thanks to the internet, I suppose, saying almost the exact same story every single time. And so all these men are saying, hey, that happened to me. That happened to me. That happened to me. And thankfully, I'm getting to a point now, and I think a lot of men are, where you burn through that red pill rage, and then you start getting into, okay, I see things for what they are. How do I rebuild myself and be a positive force for good in the world as a single person and as a single father? And I'm really excited about that. And someone like myself, that I talk very openly about this, I am a believing unbeliever. I have struggled a lot with my faith in the last, probably 5 to 8 years, off and on, and having these struggles with this. And I've found it incredibly helpful. Much of, depending on who you listen to and where you're taking your P's and Q's from, much of the men in the manosphere, in the red pill community, are talking very basic biblical values and principles. There's some guys, you listen to them for a while and you kind of get it in your head, and then you have to leave those guys behind because they're not helpful. I wouldn't say it's toxic masculinity, the red pill rage guys. It's just not helpful. It's just not helpful. And so now some of these people that I'm listening to, the big ones that I'm really loving that are believers, they love Jesus, man. Is like George Bruno's one of them. He's very middle of the road. He doesn't, he's not trying to win a bunch of converts to be a woman hater and bash women and things like this. But he has been very honest about his divorce that he had about 20 years ago, and then how he's been single this long, and and how he's an old man and he's wise. And there's a number of those guys that are like that. And that's the side that I want to go to. These guys still want to bear good fruit, man. And if you listen to a lot of these guys, what they're talking about, it's just the fruits of the Spirit as a single person, as a single dad. Um, Love, joy, peace, patience, self control, right? How do you love as a single person? How do you have joy as a single person? How do you find peace as a single person? How do you carry self control as a single person? These are amazing, because once divorce court mafia has gotten a hold of you, and you don't see your kid or kids every day, and you have a broken heart because of a divorce, the whole world changes, man. Nothing is the same. It changes everything. You don't see anything with the same lens anymore. And I'm very thankful for this community of single men who've stepped up to the plate in the Red Pill community, and have shared their stories. And you burn through it, and you go through your Red Pill rage season, and then you just can't stay there, and then you go on to the more constructive single men that are rebuilding their lives and have done exceptional work, exceptional jobs. Something that I'm very fascinated about the future of, with the rise of the she economy and single culture, and most people having single lifestyles, is the church and what that's going to do to the church. Look, former pastor, former missionary, Bible school evangelist, I am. And I mean, I hate to say it, but that person doesn't even exist anymore in me, which is really unfortunate. But I still have, to some degree, it's unfortunate. I still have a tremendous love for church folks and the church culture. I really do. And I think that in modern Protestantism, they're in a very dangerous spot because they're losing all the men. Men don't respect those churches anymore. In fact, a lot of these men are going over to Greek Orthodox. A lot of them are going over to Orthodoxy. But the modern Protestant church is not for men, it's for women and children. And oh, God, the hate I could get from that, I'm sure. But it's like, stop pretending, stop playing. Like that, it's winding down, right? And so here's something we in missions work, in taking missions courses, and it's called missionology, uh, global evangelization, these type of things. Everybody knows when you go into another country, if you're proselytizing, if you're trying to evangelize people and bring them over your faith system, much of the world is still is evil patriarchy, right? Oh my gosh. But if you win the men with respect by another man, especially the heads of a village, or an area, a neighborhood, a tribes, if you win over the tribesmen, especially the head tribesmen, the whole area becomes Bible believing, faith believing Christians. That's what it's always been. Well, the U.S., like a lot of things that the U.S. is doing right now, is the opposite, and it defers over to the feminine, right? And so that has its pros and it has its place, of course. And again, I know how horrible I probably sound, but it's all right. This is reality, right? The church is losing men like crazy. They're not going. There's and if they still go, they go because their wife makes them. I am, however, encouraged. And look, it doesn't matter what I think. It's what does God think? What is on God's heart? That's what's important, right? But as somebody who's looking in on this thing, as a single man, in a very near future where majority of people will be single, I'm thankful for the community that I've found that are steering people back to excellence, and men specifically, to being good fathers, upstanding citizens in their community. No criminal history, a backbone, standing up for yourself, not being a pushover. I want to try to have a good friend of mine on here. We talked about this the other night. Spending that much time in the church just made us pushovers, man. It just made us pushovers. And, I could say it, I'm not speaking on my wife's, ex-wife, on her behalf at all, but I'm speaking for myself. I was such a pushover in that relationship because I was always trying to do the good church thing, the good, what would Jesus do thing, Not wrong. I just didn't know, I just didn't understand what I was dealing with because I've been raised to be a woman in a woman church as a woman leader, with a woman mindset. I didn't understand. I didn't know. So anyway, the church is going to look different. The men in the church are going to look different, because they're not going to be polished churchmen. They're not going to be polished church guys. The church is so bad about that, taking men's power from them and turning them into pushovers and a bunch of beta male chumps. It just is. I can say it because I was one of them for many years. For many years, I'm still trying to come out of that. And a really good friend of mine, well, two of them really, but one of them specifically, we've had really awesome conversations about this. How we regret that. We regret that big time. How we were taught to be chumps and beta males and pushovers, and not stick up for ourselves and not say the right thing that we know we should have because we're trying to keep the peace all the time. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help anybody. And so the future of the church is because society is single now. It's not as bad in the church, divorce. That's true. It's actually not. And people that tell you that that's wrong. They're lying. You hear these stats like, oh, the divorce in the church is just as bad as it is outside the church. It's not true. That's absolutely not true. But I think what we're going to see in the church is a new man owning his God-given power and masculinity. Married or not. Because again, I'm highly hopeful, and a lot of men stay married in the church, thankfully. But these single guys and these young guys that aren't going to marry, because most men aren't going to be married. They're not marrying. They're not doing it. They're not going to be polished, and it's going to be fantastic for the church, and it's going to be fantastic for our culture. Absolutely wonderful. Because men are owning the day. They're gonna bring their power back, and they're going to produce on behalf of women and children, and society and culture. It's gonna be amazing. I'm looking forward to that part of it. So anyway, get used to being single. It's okay to be single. It's okay to spend time alone. I'm learning that as an extreme extrovert. Even I'm getting used to it and am kind of enjoying solitude and being alone more and more, actually. So get used to being a good father. Stay in there. Stay in the fight for your kids. And we're all getting on our purpose, man. As a single person, you can just wallow in self-pity and stay down and not ruffle any feathers, not rock any boats. That's fine. It's a free country. You're allowed to do that. But I'm finding that a lot of men are taking responsibility for their actions. The red pill is a great thing because men are starting to own stuff, own themselves, own their emotions, own their decisions, and growing a backbone and making better decisions. this is a really good thing. And I think it's going to look different for the culture. It's going to look different for the church, but it's going to be great because men are stepping up to the plate, rejecting passivity, which is so hard for men, myself included, and they're going to be pursuing their purpose. Mine's a father. That's my purpose, and everything I do around that, it's how do I optimally raise my son and be a good father. That's what I'm after, right? So I can go on and on. I won't bore you guys. Anyway, the future is single. It's highly probably, if you're not already, again, I don't wish this on anybody, but it might be coming. It might be coming. And if it is, you're going to get better. It's going to get better. And you're gonna see your kids more. You're gonna have relationships with them still. It's just when you're going through it, you don't understand how it's all gonna shake out. It's going to be okay. You're gonna be fine. Your kids are gonna be fine, and ultimately you're gonna come back with more power than you ever had, right? More strength, more inner fortitude, and you're going to better yourself and make the community around you better. Men need you, the other men need you, the culture needs you, the church needs you, society needs you. All right, men, we're getting better and better as single people. It is okay. Love you guys.